Hi, this is Jim Schuett. I want to welcome you to the How to Write Custom Reports, and our topic today is report forms. I hope you are well and safe, and that 2021 looks prosperous and good for you. In the series How to Write Your Custom Report, we focused on this particular report, 401k employee hours, and I'm just here showing you that it's in the list of reports and where the report form is located on that screen. Again, this is the report. Turned out to be very nice, very readable. So it's here, and when you're looking for your report form, you'll find it in this slot. Generally, the report forms are hard-coded to the particular report that they're covering, but sometimes they're not. In that case, you would just see the dot report underscore land or dot report and nothing on the left side of the dot. That would indicate that you can scroll down here at the arrow and look for the report you want for that form at that moment. To open up the report form, you go to Edit, and then inside Edit, Form Design, and that would get you into this screen, which is the basic system report screen that comes with Sage 100 Contractor. Now these clips here are from my book, and we'll follow that along going forward. Again, to access the editing version of report forms, you would go to Edit, Form Design, and that would open up the page. Now, in your report form, the structure and layout consists of, generally speaking, a header, and we put the type of information that you could see at the top of the header as part of the form. Things like company name, address, phone numbers, report info like report name, the selection criteria, the date, the client, the job information. Those are the types of things that go in the header area of the report form. In the footer, which we're seeing now, it's the things that information-wise are like report number, username, date, time, page number, and those are usually included at the bottom. Now, report forms vary widely as to what you see. This is the whole page, and you see the header and the footer, and where the report data will display is the gray area. It's also called the display screen, and it's usually in the middle. Pieces here or there, and or wherever you need it on the report. We'll show you that in a few. Not all report forms look like the Sage 100 standard report form. There's multiple uses. The report form can have many uses depending on the type of data. Basic blank form with the header and the footer, or contract, subcontract, or proposals with data that fills in where needed. Progress billing page, vendor info sheet. There are unlimited uses for the report form. Here's an example. These examples describe some of the options that you can do using report forms. An explanation of how to do these types of report forms is described later in the book. This is part of a 6-page subcontract, which prints out automatically every time a subcontract gets printed. And so you can see there's no gray area here, and In this particular page, there are no inserts of information because this is the boilerplate contract, which was 6 pages long. Now at the end, or sometimes in the middle, you'll find the insertion of the vendor name or the contractor name or the dollar amount of the contract, or down at the bottom maybe the name of the company again and where they sign, those types of things. Saves a lot of time, and make sure that the subcontractor receives all the right documents before the project starts. When these types of pages are added to the subcontract, or like waivers to the AP invoice, those types of things. Now that was showing how to open up an existing page, an existing report form. But how do you start from scratch? To create a new form using the existing form as a starting point, you'd go to the menu 13.5, Form Report Page Design, and then click on File and then Open, which is up here. File, Open. Then select a report form screen opens, and then you would click the Display System Report Forms right here, and up pops a listing of all the system report forms that come with Sage. These are the standard forms that Sage provides for all the various reports that exist in Sage when you get the software. What's shown right here are the basic report underscore land. Report would be the portrait version. Report underscore land is the landscape version. So you would click on one of those in order to get started with that. Now, once you open it up, you want to be sure and save it, so that you have a title, and you can go forward, adding items to it, and keep saving it as you go along. That's quite important. As I was explaining, the extensions, report underscore land, or report underscore long, are the basic portrait and landscape generic versions of a report form. Now, if it has something like .purchase or .punch list or .progress, then those are also report forms, but it tells the system where these report forms go, which module, which menu in the Sage menu these go. So .purchase would be a purchase order, and that would generate viewing in the PO area. Punch list or progress billing, all of those would go into their own menu selection area. When you open up report forms and you click on pages and then page format, then you can start doing some things to set up the page. Here's the page format. You can change the width and height, so basically the size of the form. Now that comes in handy when you are doing like Excel, export to Excel, and you need as big a sheet as you can have. So when I have that to do, then I usually create an 11 by 17 size page to work in and put columns as close together so that I have enough room in that area to export. Now, you can go off the edge, when you're exporting to Excel, go off the edge of the form. To some extent, it just depends on how many columns you have and what size and everything. So that's a kind of a trial and error thing. You can set the margins, left, right, top, middle, bottom, and you can set the snap to position grid, and we'll show that on the next screen, and the background grid. Again, this is showing the setting up of the snap to position. Just click the button and it'll go from 1/16, 2/16, 3/16, and so forth. And in the next screen I'll show you what that means. And the grid also, click on the button and the grid will be on. So let's move on to this, and here is a sample of the grid, the background grid. So you have the grid in the background. That helps you line things up and make sure that they're at the right levels with each other. Now, the fields, let me go back one. The fields here that you see on report forms, they can be the standard fields that you have when you pull in data from the different menu areas. But the company name, and there's certain types of information that require a CP caret, and then the six digits after that to describe the field. So now we can go here and talk a little bit about it. The predefined company fields are unique fields for use in the report form only. Predefined calculated fields are fields that Sage 100 Contractor recognizes and automatically replaces with the proper data. These are locked fields that cannot be changed, unlike other fields, standard or calculated, which you insert, create, and or add to the report. Predefined calculated fields must be typed directly into the form design. You can't just drag and drop them into the form from other places. Most but not all of these predefined calculated fields are also global calculated fields. They look a little different there though, but for example, company name, or company and then caret company name is the same thing as CP caret company name. Both fields pull the company name from the database. There's only one difference between the two types of the calculated fields. Predefined calculated fields must be typed directly into the form design, where the global calculated fields must be added from the calculated fields window. Now, here's a listing of the predefined fields that come with Sage and are useful for adding info, this type of info, to the report forms. Things like, the company name, address, and those types of information, the phone, the current date, current time, the user, the page numbers, consecutive page number, the tax ID, report title and subtitle, the selection criteria, other things that are here, email address, those types. So those are available to use in the report form. And this is what they look like again. Company, the report title, again over here in smaller type with the subtitle. This is the current date. And this is not the CP version. Now let's talk about entering regular type fields into your report form. So how do you enter fields into a report form? You click in the grid area where where you want the field to go. It's just like the custom report area when you're filling in fields for there. It's just like that for here too. So you click in the grid area where you want the field to appear. Then you click Insert Fields from a list. So right here, and from there you choose a field to enter by clicking on it in the list. And that list is here when you open it up, and that is the different tables, and in this case the accounts receivable, and these are the fields within that table. Again, just like what you do in the report, in the custom reports part of building a report. Now, when you want to change the field's properties, you would click on the desired field, click Edit, and then click Font, or however you want, color and those types of things. And that opens up. Here's your Edit, then Font, and then you can choose the font, the type or style, regular, bold, whatever, and the size. You also have underline down here, a couple things. You can also go up here. Instead of going to Edit Font, you can just click the A icon, and that'll bring this up also. So in the font window, you select the font style, and the size. Use the scroll bars to see all the fonts and sizes. So this will scroll. Choose underline if desired, and then choose OK when you're done. Now let's take a look at the boundaries and the margins. For report forms, Sage 100 has set boundaries shown by a dotted line around the report. The boundaries are set by the margins you set for the document. A note here: do not go over the boundaries, which often won't, which then won't often print the fields outside these lines, depending on how big the boundaries are that you set, the margins. Especially watch the logos and objects stay fully within these boundaries as much as possible. You can creep over a little bit, but it just depends on how small your margins are set. Here's the blue line boundaries that I'm talking about. These are set at between 1/4 and 1/2 inch, and on the sides, a full inch on the maybe that's 1/2 inch. Kind of hard to tell here. Anyway, whatever you set them at, that'll show up, and that is only a visual guide to you, so that you know where the data can go inside. And as you see, the data here is within those ranges. Now let's talk more about the right side limits here. The real right side limits, even though the blue dotted line shows the boundaries, use caution in going close to the right side margin. Especially in version 19, data fields extending beyond the 7.5 inch or 10 inch spacing may not appear in the reports. So basically, if your dotted line is here, as you can see where the gray area box is, if you go beyond that data may be cut off when you print the report. So just something to be aware of. Now, page 2 is a little unique. Page 2 is generally a large gray box with a little header, basically, continued with maybe the report name or the company name, and at the bottom you've got a page number probably down here. And what that does is The overflow, if there is overflow of data from the first page going to a second, third, fourth, fifth page, page 2 handles all of that. So let's say you've got a report that's going to have 5 pages of data generated in the gray area. Well, it'll start off on page 1 if that's where you have the gray area starting, and then it'll flow to page 2, and if page 3 and page 4 of the flowing data all comes from page 2. So you only need the one page like this for the overflow. Now, let's talk about what goes on beyond the report form in the sense of pages 1 and 2. Adding additional pages after page 2 provides many options for report writing. Instructions on how to add additional pages will be found later in the book that I wrote. On a client invoice, for instance, and business license, sales tax forms, insurance, etc., everything they will ask for before payment can be made to you, which may speed up their payments, is important to add to the report form so that when they get the item that is their billing thing, then the items that go along with it that they require before they'll pay are already attached. In this case, in this example, subcontractor's affidavit and partial waiver. So basically a lien waiver. If this is an AP invoice going out and you have the waiver attached automatically and it fills in automatically, then that saves you some steps and speeds up your payments from the vendors. If it's a subcontract, then the first page usually gives them the numbers and detail for the subcontract. The pages after that could be all the boilerplate verbiage that the subcontractor needs, and then the signature sheets at the end. So all kinds of things could be added to report forms, beyond pages 1 and 2. We'll go into that in a later video, but this, I think, concludes our session for this basic look at report forms. I want to thank you for attending. I hope this session has helped you. You take care, and we'll talk to you and see you soon, I hope.